we would be in Florida right now under a normal scenario reacting to all of the things that were done on Tuesday at the annual meetings. One of the things that was done on Tuesday at the league meetings, expansion of the playoffs, we'll talk about that coming up, but most importantly, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, one of the big questions for the National Football League, will the league start on time? Will the games be played? Will they be playing in full stadiums? It's inconceivable at this point, Chris, that it could happen. But NFL General Counsel Jeff Pash, on a conference call held with several media members yesterday afternoon, he was resolute. He was determined. Now, the caveat is we're planning. That's our expectation. We're going to have a full season, 16 games, full stadiums. That's our plan. He cited some modeling that was done for the ownership group regarding where the pandemic is heading and where it will be in the fall. It feels optimistic to me, and I hope that behind that optimism there is hard planning for all contingencies in the event that you can't have a full season. But I was stunned by how calm and resolute Jeff Pash was in delivering his expectation and the league's expectation that a full 16-game season will be played as scheduled in full stadiums.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you too. There doesn't seem to be any wavering from NFL leadership that, anything else is going different. We hear little, rumors here and there, but for the most part, it's steadfast on the normal offseason NFL schedule. And hey, I understand that. Hey, compared to Major League Baseball, hockey, basketball, hey, the NFL can continue business as is for the most part right now because they're not entertaining. We're not playing our sport. It's off-season stuff. It's still a schedule that we can get away with getting accomplished in the NFL, at home or via Skype or Zoom or FaceTime, whatever it may be. And also, these owners, they have proof in the pudding too that, we had a no off season. What was that? The 2011 off season, Mike? Okay.
Yep.
Well, football went on that next year and everybody watched it and it was a really exciting season. So, to me, those are things, that I think the NFL is looking at right now. But, I'm with you a little bit. Is this realistic? I mean, I just don't know. As it sits here right now, I have a hard time thinking we're going to get at least a full preseason and a full NFL season right off the bat. Maybe that changes in the next month or two, but I don't see it happening right now.
I almost feel like they've decided to take the position that they're not going to show any wavering, any hesitation, any pessimism regarding the plan to go forward with a full season, essentially trying to speak a full season into existence by just saying every step of the way, we plan to do it, we plan to do it. And that's fine as long as you have contingency plans that you're not sharing with everyone. Have a worst-case scenario. Have every scenario mapped out. I've been arguing this for the past week, Chris. One of the reasons I threw out an admittedly goofy idea of taking everyone to some isolated area and playing the season there in a series of practice fields in a giant dormitory where all the players and coaches and all necessary personnel would be, that was put out there just to rattle the cage to make sure that people are thinking about what happens if we can't play a full season. What happens if some cities can have full stadiums, some cities have empty stadiums? All of the what-ifs need to be identified, and basically every date on the calendar needs to be assessed. If we can't get back to normal until this day, what happens? If we can't get back to normal until this day, what happens? And I hope that behind that very calm facade that we saw yesterday from Jeff Pash, we plan to go forward. It's almost like there's nothing going on. I mean, that was the irony of it. On the same day that we got the gravest assessment yet from the daily press briefing from the White House, that's the day that we just got a sense of nonchalance from the NFL. And I don't want to say nonchalance, but I kind of do, because that's kind of how it felt. It was kind of like, wait a minute. Like, as I was hearing him explain it, it's like, wait a minute, this is kind of a big deal. Like, and I know how fast the offseason goes. April becomes May, becomes June, becomes training camp. And it's here before you know it. And maybe they're privy to some information that the rest of us aren't. And if so, good. Because it sounds like they're getting pretty good information. And that's my big takeaway, Chris. The best news of having a full football season in full stadiums, beginning as scheduled Thursday, September 10, when we be in Kansas City for the Chiefs to hang their banner and start their title defense. The fact that they're able to do it is the best news, because that would mean that great progress has been made in fighting this horrible disease.
Well, yeah, I'm with you. The leadership coming from the NFL is it's not my favorite. I can't lie about that. Again, it seems right now that hey, we're just going to embark on our normal course here. Nothing's going to stop us. It doesn't matter. We're the NFL. We're the money making machine. That's what we do. Hey, it's great right now. We don't need practice. We're getting a lot of work done. We're the only show in town as far as what people are talking about. They're talking about draft stuff, free agency stuff. So that's great. But yes, lack of leadership at time. Again, the commissioner works for the 32 owners. It's not always in the best interest of everybody involved in the league. He's more worried about pleasing his 32 guys. And that to me is where, it gets lost in translation sometimes about lack of leadership. So that bothers me. And then, Mike, let me bring up this point too. You know, as we sit right now, it sounds like we're not going to get a vaccine or anything like that for, 12, what are they saying now? 12, 18 months from now still? Is that still the timeline?
I've heard
But
14
roughly,
months, but you're in the range. You're in the range.
right,
Yes.
in the range. Okay. So we're going to go with the NFL season as is. I mean, okay, now it's week 3. Somebody in the Dallas Cowboys gets COVID-19 in the locker room. I mean, what are we going to do? Not this. The Cowboys aren't going to play, or we're just going to say screw it. Hey, team, sorry, we're a team. We're all getting COVID-19 together. I mean, so that to me is where I just don't know how you can plan as is right now in the NFL when the world might throw you a curveball, a team a curveball, a player a curveball. What if Tom Brady got COVID-19? Knock on wood. I don't want that to happen, Mr. Brady. But what if he did? I mean, that to me is just the things that the NFL has to start spitballing and where we're going to go with this.
And here's the bigger reality. The COVID-19 is the illness that is manifested by the coronavirus. You can test positive for the virus and be asymptomatic.
Right.
What do you do with a guy who's perfectly healthy? Think about that.
Right.
Perfectly healthy, but he's tested positive for the coronavirus, so he can't play for 2 weeks. So all of a sudden, Tom Brady is gone for 2 weeks. Even though he's fine, it's not affecting him in a negative way at all. He's not allowed to play until he's coronavirus negative. Now, I think the hope is, Chris, by September, there will be quick and easy ways to test, and everyone would be tested on a regular basis. There will be an antibody test, from what I've heard, before too long, where it's a quick prick of the finger, and you can find out whether or not you've already had it, which would mean you're good to go in the event that someone in your locker room tests positive. So there's a lot of issues, a lot of questions, and that's the thing. This idea that, we'll be fine, okay, will you be fine, though? I mean,
yeah, right.
What do we like? I mean, I think it's okay to say we may not be fine or we don't know. We're taking it one day at a time like everyone else. It just was an odd message. I understand the desire to go full speed ahead. And this is an area where the selfish interests of the NFL make as much money as possible. And I'm a capitalist. I got no problem with that. Mesh with the idea that there is a greater good that is accomplished by playing NFL games. And I believe that. I believe that's more important. The idea that people will have that normalcy in their lives, that thing that we can rally around, that shared experience is going to help us from a mental health standpoint if this does continue into the fall. But the problem is, if this continues into the fall, how in the hell can you play the games? So that's where it stands. And I'm going to continue to take a wait-and-see approach. And one thing we're going to wait and see, Chris, is the schedule release, because usually it comes out before the draft. Something that was said yesterday during this conference call with reporters, May 9 at the latest is when the schedule will be out. So, it's going to be after the draft. That never happens. Well, it's going to happen this year, and I'm fine with that. Take a little more time, apply a little more flexibility, and also in this wasteland of no sports, Don't burn off your schedule release shows a week before the draft when everybody's thinking about the draft. Hold it for a couple of weeks, because it's going to be an even bigger deal if nothing's going on, because it's already the top story when the schedules come out. Even when you've got the NBA playoffs starting, the NHL playoffs starting, and the MLB season starting, it's still a big deal when we find out the when to go along with the who and the where of the 256 regular season games.
Yeah, well, where does it go, though, Mike? I mean, okay, so we have a schedule, May 9th. That's great. I get it. But you're right. I mean, what's the contingency plan going to be? If we have 2 weeks gone, or one city still in a hot spot environment to where the coronavirus is really spreading in a way that they can't control it. I mean, we could still be seeing that at that time of the year, to where, what are we going to do? Tell teams not to go play games in that city, whatever it may be. I just think there's so many things unknown. I'm okay with the NFL, acting as if it's business as normal for the most part right now, and they're going to continue to trudge ahead with the normal things they do. I understand all of that. What I don't understand is, yeah, I would like, or I don't need to understand it. I just wish I heard more contingency plans. I think that's the one thing that's frustrating coaches. I think coaches that I talk to around the NFL and stuff, and I got too much time on my hands here talking to them. Yeah, they're frustrated with where this is going to go too. They're going to keep working and doing what they got to do as far as evaluating players and everything that way. But I think they're concerned for their family and their players on their football teams too here as we get into training camp. Just not knowing where we're going to be at. And is it going to be realistic to ask guys to get together, 100 guys in a locker room? Hey, coaches who are older, you might have an old offensive coordinator who has an asthma problem. Now he gets COVID-19. Whoa, that could get dangerous. So, there's just so many things here yet that we just don't know about. And, I'm just worried. I'm worried that the NFL season will not be complete this year.
Yeah, and I worry that as we start peeling the onion, some of the issues you're raising, like what if they can't play games in one state, they can play them in another state?
Right, right.
Is it going to be like the Saints where you're on the road for every game of the year like they were in 2005? And when will there be a sense of, okay, we know how this is going to go? I feel like it's going to be potentially day to day, week to week. That's why my admittedly crazy idea of taking everybody to some place in the middle of the nowhere and sealing it off from the outside world. Now, you got to get food. I mean, they'd have to get to work on the garden and the cows and the chickens and all that if they want to be self-sustaining. But
they can call
at
us
some
if
point,
they want. We can help.
At some point, you're only going to be playing games in areas that are safe to play games in, and will there be any areas like that? Look, and I don't want to be an alarmist. I don't want to be a pessimist. I just want to be realistic. And I don't want us to all get our hopes up that they're going to be football season, and then we get to July or August, and we go through the same stuff we went through a few weeks ago, where it's like, holy crap, we were looking forward to this, and now it's not going to happen.
I was just saying, your idea is good, though. I like your idea. I just don't know if it's realistic to lock people in one area for basically 6 months. I mean, we could put them in Area 51 and close it down and just have them play games there.
I've joked about Area 51. I mean, there are places out in the middle of nowhere. The Greenbrier, a couple of hours from me, has already 3 practice fields for the New Orleans Saints and later the Houston Texans.
Right.
Only 710 rooms, though. I was doing the math with a couple of people in the NFL because there are some people with teams that are intrigued by this concept because they understand how the dominoes could fall to the point where you do have to basically remove the entire league from society in order to play the games. That has to be, short of saying we're just going to scrap the season. If they're determined to get the season in, that really is the last-ditch effort to try to pull it all off, is to remove the entire league from circulation and test everybody on a regular basis, test everybody who's bringing in the food. I mean, and that is all premised upon having the ability to quickly and cheaply and efficiently test people, and there's a belief that that could be coming in the next several months.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.